What's up, guys? Sgt Collins coming in from Alaska. First episode on Bro TV. It's good to be part of the team. All right, here we go. Military Mondays.
Feeling good, motivated, dedicated.
First thing I want to talk about, guys, is barracks life. All right. A lot of times, what you see in the movies is barracks, 80 dudes in one room, bunk beds. Big drill sergeant come around yelling at everybody. No, it's not like that. In fact, it's pretty far from that. Believe it or not, almost anybody here in the Army that lives in a barracks gets to live in a room with 2 to 3 other guys. Luckily, you know, I'm a non-commissioned officer. I get to have my own room. But my room, I can tell you, it's about a 10 by 12 room. Not exactly the best living conditions. In fact, most of you that live in apartments are living in better living conditions than I am. And here in Alaska, the rooms that we live in are about 80 years old. In fact, if you were to talk to some old Vietnam War vets, they probably lived in the same room that I did, that I currently live in now. Alright, so it's not like what you look or what you see in basic training or anything like that. If you're lucky and you go to a post like Fort Bragg, a lot of their stuff is new. It actually kind of looks like an apartment. You share a common area with 2 separate bedrooms, and you each have your own bathroom. But if you get stationed on a place that it's way out in the middle of nowhere like Alaska, nah, you got a common shared bathroom. You got a room that looks kind of like a jail cell. It's actually quite similar to halfway houses. But hey, we make it work. We're in the Army. Adapt, overcome, be a soldier. You know. Next thing I want to go over is a day in the life of the Army, or at least a day in the life of an airborne unit. So, boom. Wake up at about 04:30 every day, so you get to your unit by about 05. For those of you that don't know those terms, 05 means 5 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning. Try to pick up a little bit on the military terminology that I'm using here. So, get to my unit 05, and we start PT usually at 06:30. I don't know why we got to be there so early, but that's kind of just the way it is. So we start PT at 06:30. PT can be anywhere from a 7-mile run, followed by some push-ups and sit-ups, and then you start your work day after that. Or it could be a 2-mile run with a bunch of sprints, or the way my unit works it here in Alaska is we do a ruck march on Wednesdays, which is where you put on this big 65-pound rucksack and you go walking as fast as you can. And it usually starts off at a pretty good pace, but usually the people in front don't know how to keep pace, so little guys like me end up having to run the whole thing. Very, very, very irritating. It's kind of like a slinky effect. For those of you that are in the military, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, get with me next time I come back home, and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. After that, you go to breakfast, and then come back at about 09:30. From there you start your regular workday. What you do during the workday kind of depends on what your actual job in the military is. Me, I am a paratrooper, goddamn red-blooded American paratrooper. My workday generally varies. Since I'm a sergeant, I do generally get put in charge of a lot of details, where I got to basically just watch over a bunch of full-grown men do stuff that they should know how to do, but apparently they don't. It's actually quite rewarding. Occasionally I get to train on my job, which my job is jumping out of an airplane and then setting up a big giant cannon and blowing stuff up. Very, very fun. Workday usually ends at about 1700. It's about 5 p.m. for you guys that don't know military terminology. 5 p.m., 5:30. I generally got to stay a little bit later to take and get notes from the first sergeant and from the commander for what we're going to do the following day. But you know, that's generally how it is. We're generally not working past 1700, 1800, unless of course you're in the field or you're deployed. In that case, you're working about 24 hours a day. and staying up for days on end, which that's a lot of fun. We'll get into that in a later episode. Field life, field pranks, field food, all that stuff. Now I want to get into my main segment, which is talking about which schools in the military really are operator as fuck. So the first one that generally comes to mind is airborne school. I have been to airborne school. I can tell you it's about probably the lowest level of operator that you're going to get. What they teach you to do is how to properly land after jumping out of an airplane that's going about 190 miles an hour in the sky, and they drop you at about 1,000 feet. There's none of this staying in the air doing the cool skydiving stuff. You're only about 1,000 feet off the ground. Your parachute deploys the moment you jump out of the aircraft, and you generally hit the ground at about 20 to 30 feet per second. It feels like somebody pushed you off a 2-story building. But depending on where you are, if you're in Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the landing is going to vary depending on the drop zone that you go to. If you're in Alaska, you're going to land in the snow, which that's really fun. I've done that. It feels like you're landing on a cloud. So, airborne school, lowest level of operator. The next one, air assault school, a little bit more operator, a little bit more. It's a highly intense school. You got to be very, very motivated and pretty smart academically to get through it. There's a lot of stuff you got to know and figure out. I can't get too much into it. It would be a lot to explain, but at the end of air assault school, you do get to learn how to rappel down a helicopter, which is awesome. It hovers about 200 feet off the ground, and you sit off the side of it and you rappel down on a rope, and the only thing that's connecting you to that aircraft is a rope. Quite an adrenaline rush. Pretty operator. There's different levels of that school where they teach you air assault operations and how to breach buildings from the rooftops and stuff like that, but basic level air assault school is still on the low level of operator status. The next main one that most people are going to talk about is Ranger School. Now, Ranger School, not for the faint of heart. I'm sure you've all seen Surviving the Cut. If you haven't, go check it out. Surviving the Cut, Ranger School. It's about 3 months long. The whole process is about 3 months long. There's 3 different phases that you have to go through, and basically, from what I've heard, because I'm going to be going to it in a few months during the summer in Fort Benning, Georgia. Awesome, going from Alaska to Georgia. It's going to be basically, you're going to learn how to shoot, move, and communicate without any sleep and without any food for days and weeks on end. It sounds like a blast. It is a blast. That's what we all live here for. That's what we all do in the military. We want to shoot, move, communicate, kill stuff, and go home. Unfortunately, in Ranger School, you don't get to go home after that. You get to stay there for another few months in what we call the suck. So, Ranger School, pretty operator. It's up there at mid-level operator status. Not quite fully operator, but you still got a lot of bragging rights if you've gone to Ranger School and you get stationed in a Ranger Battalion. Most people that have been through Ranger School don't go to Ranger Battalion. It's not the life you want to live if you're one of the people that are weak or faint of heart. Ranger Battalion, they get deployed 2 to 3 times a year, and they do a lot of fun stuff. They do a lot of stuff that you see on the movies. The next school I want to talk about is the Special Forces Selection. It's not a school, it's actually a selection. A lot of people misconstrue it. It's not a selection, it's a process that you have to go through Special Forces School. It's 2 weeks long. They call it 2 weeks in hell. Very comparable to Navy SEALs BUDS training. Anybody that's gone through it and failed would tell you that it's the hardest thing that they've ever done in their entire life. And that is one of my personal goals. I will be a Special Forces operator one day. So Special Forces Selection, almost as operator as you can get without actually going to Special Forces School. Now, I can't speak for all the other branches and their operators fuck schools, but I can tell you a lot about the armies. I can tell you right now, Special Forces Selection is the place you want to go if you want to be an operator. So, what we covered today, a little bit about barracks life, how it compares to what you see in the movies versus what people talk about in the civilian world. A day in the life of the Army. It's actually pretty similar to most people's day in the workforce. The only difference is we get up much earlier and we go and do PT no matter what the weather is outside. I think it was -7 degrees the other day in Alaska, and I was still out there running 7 miles. So you can expect to do PT every single day no matter what the weather conditions are in the military. And then the last thing I covered is what schools are really operator as fuck. So, now you know. If you have any questions, feel free to subscribe. Shoot us an email. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Hope you enjoyed the show. This is our first episode of Military Mondays. It will get better, I swear. Doing a lot on a very little budget. So please subscribe, share it with your friends. Let us know what you think.